Hello and welcome to our show, Midwest Weekly, starring myself, Wiz, and my co-host, Clt. We are here to give you a breakdown of Week 3's action across the LOL Midwest Sweat League. We also have some special guests today. War Initiate, the top laner from Insane Banana Posse, and Vacant, the top laner from Load the Kennens, here to discuss all the fun action that happened over Week 3. So, with that being said, we are going to lead off with our first series, that being Small Brain No Mechanics versus Denver Nuggets. So I'll start off with you, CLT. What do you got for me this week, my friend?
I caught a majority of this series. I believe, looking at your guys' draft, you guys picked Aurora early, and then last picked Akshan to flex at top against Nasus, which I thought was really good. The Xerath pick, I liked it in theory in lane. Like, you can push back Akshan a little bit, but it doesn't really stop his roaming, which we kind of seen from, Stanley. Or Stanley, don't know how to pronounce your
Staney?
name.
Staney? Yeah.
Staney, okay.
Yeah.
I really butchered that. Yeah, and then your use of Hex Flash. I think there was 2 or 3 ganks early. You flashed in, got a kill, and then Hex Flash top lane, I think, when Akshan roamed up there as well. Like, I thought the usage in game 1 for your Hex Flash was actually really, really good. Nasus couldn't really do much into Aurora, so it ended up being a little bit of a draft diff, but I thought you guys drafted very smartly, flexing the Aurora top.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I got the clip here. I'm letting it play, but with the Hex Flash, it was a kill on Jinzao you're referring to. And yeah, Fit had roamed up early here, level 2, and so we tried to use it to our best of our ability. Unfortunately, OnlyFans did fail his flash over the wall, so he ended up getting taken down. But yeah, that was the little play we were talking about there. Kind of show everybody that. So
Your bot lane popped off based on the numbers as well. I just think overall, it was you guys drafted very, very smartly, very well into their team comp.
Yeah.
Game 1.
So I'll start with this for both of you guys, actually, both Vic and Tech and War Initiate here. Vic had played Aurora in the first game, so I'm kind of curious, what are your guys' opinions on the champion and how it feels top lane to play against or play? I don't know if you guys have played it, so.
I did, I played it once or twice, I think, and I've played against it a few times now. But it's very oppressive if you have a decent amount of beef elsewhere in the team, whether that be jungler support that can make it so you don't need to have a bruiser tank top lane. It can be very good because it makes it she basically perma pushes in lane, and she can poke you under tower so well because you can never really catch her because she has her invis dash, her back dash with the slow, and her passive 3-hit passive gives her healing and move speed, so she can out-sustain you as well. It can be very hard to run her down, and then once she gets level 6, she's basically impossible to gank, because she'll pop her ult behind her and go through the wall, so she appears, halfway across the lane again.
Yeah, so I haven't played it. Doesn't really fit my playstyle personally, but having played against it, it's draining because playing tanks and all that, she just kind of melts you when you're I've had times where I'm full health, I get one trade and I'm at 30%. I'm like, what just happened? I got hit by 2 abilities. So it's like you said, it's really oppressive. She just kind of does what she wants, and it doesn't feel like she's easy to gank because of, like you said, all the mobility and then the healing. She just I haven't seen her much outside of top lane, and I don't know if I've beaten her in lane personally without jungle help, but she's a terror in my eyes. She just makes the game hard as a top laner.
Yeah, she doesn't have... She is ranged, but she's a shorter range compared to other, artillery mages and stuff. So she doesn't do as well mid, because she doesn't like going into range matchups. She really likes melee. And, yeah, it's mainly... because she does have percentage health damage as well, which makes it very hard for tanks. Thankfully, the healing isn't based off of the damage dealt. It's just a flat heal. It does stack though, so that she can get a lot of it if she hits you with multiple passive procs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes complete sense. I was thinking about something else. You know, we're initially we played against each other in week 1, and I believe Stanley did play Akshan in that series as well. What do you think about that champion, and how is it to play against the pick? Like,
so I don't. So I see that it ended up being the same matchup for you guys in that game of Akshan versus Xerath. From what I saw from our match, it just kind of like won the lane without needing to do much of anything. It just kind of like ran over, and then when Xerath wasn't in lane or was pushed in, we had to back off in all the lanes because he just kept appearing everywhere. So with all of his mobility, it's so hard to lock down, even as Ornn. Like, I think I hit him with one ability the whole game. I don't think my ult hit him a single time. I don't think I got a single knockup. I think I got one Q that hit him, and that was it. Because he moved so fast and so much, and like with how far ahead he was in our match, he just kind of like killed everyone for free without any risk of dying. So like what I've seen of him as a mid lane, if he's allowed to do what he does best, you have better than an 80 carry mid lane. You have a hyper carry mid, plus you have everyone else on your team that can work with them. It's just hard to deal with.
yeah,
I
it's
kind of comment on that as a mid lane. Like, it's oppressive if he's allowed to just, like you said, do what he does. I think he's just almost like a better Tristana now. Like, it's a hyper carry that bullies out mages, doesn't really need TP because he has movement speed coming from base near walls and stuff like that, and it's scary for people that can pilot that champion.
Gotcha. Let's go ahead and jump into game 2 here. So in game 2, a little bit of a interesting game for sure as well. I know that game we ended up taking a Mumu, which has been a lot of high priority over the split, and very, very strong right now. Where are we all thinking that champion lies right now? As it's been mostly popular in the jungle. We played it support particularly, but where do we feel about that champion at the moment?
I think you guys actually like kind of revived like the Mumu support, because I totally thought watching this it was jungle. You've played a jungle many a times, and I think you've said even on some streams of how you like the champion, you like what he brings to the table. But flexing his support into a shorter range-ish comp, I mean, like, Tristana still gets range as she levels up, but for the most part, she doesn't have like the biggest range in the world. I thought it was a really good flex. Again, I think, just kind of quoting on game 2 in general, you guys drafted really, really smart this series, and it showed.
Yeah, the Camille support kind of threw us all for a whirl, by the way. Wasn't expecting that. As far as being top laner, seeing a top laner, being played support, do you guys like her as a support pick? Like, if you're in the game and you're playing top lane, if someone picks it to go support, is that something you guys like to see?
It depends on what it is. Like, Camille's been just really impressive with Bloodsong. You just can't really get away from her, and she does have sustain with her W, which is nice when going into her. She just does, I think, wasn't it, I don't know too much about it, but when you're playing it, you like auto and then QQ. You don't even try to go for the true damage, just to insta proc. Was it like PTA or something?
I think it's something like that, yeah, because I think it's, if they brush check into Camille support, if he starts E, it's like auto, it's, yeah, you proc it pretty quick fast.
Yeah,
You just do so much damage with it. I mean, you can blow up pretty quick. I did see that it built Sterix and Sundered Sky, which does help with that. Not, like, dying so quick that they built. But, I mean, generally, when top laners are going bot, it's because they're just so good at the moment that it's just not worth it not to.
Yeah. Do you recall CLT that beginning of the game? I don't know of game 2 where you're talking about the bush check, where the Camille actually got the play off on the Amumu, and they end up getting a kill.
I do remember something like that. I don't remember it in grave detail, but I know there was like quite a bit of fighting bot lane. I thought honestly, looking now that I could see like in the load up screen, I thought the Lucian Amumu like combo, they didn't really play off each other much, because Lucian really still likes enchanters with his passive changes. But there was a couple of times where like yeah, they kind of ran into Camille and she was allowed to like E into it and start the trade on her terms, which I think Camille just likes in general. Even top lane, if she can kind of navigate around and make the first move, she's normally pretty happy with that.
Yeah, and to clarify for you guys, she didn't go PTA. She went Hail Blades. I don't know if that's the correct build, but I'm looking at it. It's Hail Blades, so that's probably how you get the autos off pretty quick. Nisha, you have any opinions on the champion at all in the bot lane?
So I haven't seen her much as a support. I haven't played against Camille support in I think since last year at some point. It was probably the last time I played against one. As someone, when I do play support, I play tanks. I play Nautilus, Leona, stuff like that. I don't know how good it is into that kind of stuff, but the fact that she got that early kill bot lane makes it sound like it would be good into it. But I know that playing against Camille top lane is a pain because I always underestimate her E range, always, every single time, and so I know that a lot of bot laners probably don't know the range either because of the fact that they don't lane against it much. So it probably makes it really hard on bot laners and supports to play against is the fact that it's not something you see often. So if you know how to play it, it sounds like it would be able to just steamroll a game. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's probably useless, truthfully.
I feel like it's almost like it's Pike-esque, and like if you see it locked in, you're all of a sudden just like, okay, this guy clearly plays this. I'm gonna be kind of worried, but I feel like it's definitely like more bruiser fightery-ish than like what Pike wants to do.
That's what I was thinking. It is definitely one of those picks where you see it, and it's the support's taking the game into their own hands, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be that series. Then we'll move on here. I don't want to talk about my game too much. Too much focus. Yeah, I picked Ravis. Yeah, I did pick Ravis. I think everyone saw that. I was showing some clips, so everybody will get to see things happening. Don't worry. Next up series, though, we actually have War Initiate series here, which is Insane Banana Posse versus Sad Jellyfish. And as we all know, at least 3 of us, I don't know if Vacant Tech caught any, but as most of us know, it was an absolutely insane series, and it featured the previous champions in Sad Jellyfish losing their first series in I want to say months, like, of game time, like, but maybe at least 2 months, maybe 3 months. Like, it's been a long time since they lost a series, but it was certainly a very fun one. So let's start like this. Anisha, why don't you take us through a little bit of your perspective of what it was like in game 1?
So game 1, like, similar to how week 1 went, where you guys were trying to put like our jungler on specific things. It felt like they were trying to do the same kind of thing, and then of course Flame Dog, being the maniac he is, locked in Shen and played it like built the Ivern build and just kind of, he didn't have a lot of kills, but he kind of took over the game. And of course, obviously, like, we had Ghost get that insane penta where he was like yelling at me not to steal it, because I stunned the Sun into the wall and I had a chance to steal it, but I walked away instead.
Yeah.
And then, like, I know that that was also probably the 4th or 5th time I've been dove top lane this in the game so far. And once again, I kind of like shut that down by perma-CCing the Volibear, so he couldn't even ult. So the game 1 just kind of felt way too easy. And not to say anything bad about against Sad Jellyfish, but I don't think they were expecting us to be as prepared as we were. And it kind of set us up for game 2 for how game 2 went. Because we were laxed a little too much after how easy we felt game 1 went. Like, we were laughing, joking after game 1, and we got yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into game 2. We will definitely get into game 2.
Yeah, I know. It's just
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a nice conversation on game 2.
Yeah, but
I won't.
Yeah, well, I'll let this stuff play in the background a little bit while we're discussing game 1 more. What is your take on game 1 specifically there, CLT?
Game 1, I know we casted this, which was an insane series. War initiates turnaround on that dive. CCing the volley bear was like so well played that I think that definitely like the momentum that Sad Jellyfish had, he like stopped all of it right there. The communication and coordination between Flame Dog and Ghost, there was multiple like shin taunts into Talia minefields that were like insane, and most of the time it hit 2 or 3 of the squishies on Sad Jellyfish, and it was refreshing to like watch that kind of coordination. I was really excited to see the Shen jungle. Like, once I seen Redemption and Knights and Locket, I'm like, okay, maybe Vhagar can punch through it. But you guys kept Salt down quite well. And overall, like, it definitely nullified, like, all of the Vhagar pick. And then once Shen got ahead, it's like, whoever Volley Bear J4 ults onto, it's like, okay, Shen's gonna come there with a Redemption and an ult, and you're never gonna kill him. So I think Insane Bananas like showed a lot of team strength just overall in this game. Sad Jellyfish had a good response game too, but yeah, that was a fun series, fun game to watch.
Yeah, I can give a little insight into like the communication thing because so Flame Ghost and I have been playing on a team since 2020. Started off, I was actually playing support for that. But we've been playing with this 5-man roster for, I want to say, this is the 3rd year together that we've been playing together.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So we've actually played in numerous tournaments on Battlefy. We actually won a tournament recently that was actually a cash tournament. It was only like $50 that we won, but still, like, we'd kind of just
win.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got years of playing together of experience, so it's we know how each other kind of tick. Obviously, Ghost and Flame have better communication than anybody or usually have better communication. They argue a lot, but but being biological brothers, like they know each other better than anybody. So
yeah, I've played actually some in-houses with two brothers who were twins, and
jeez,
the banner back and forth is amazing to listen to, but when they're on point, it's like, oh, okay. Looking into game 2.
Yep, I can pull it up right here.
I got a question, War. This Nautilus pick.
Don't ask. No, don't leave it alone, please.
Let me go find a little bit of this gameplay for everybody to see.
I mean, I know you played it once in either week 1 or week 2, and it looked like just Dippy was not having your shit.
Yeah, so having played the matchup, like being last pick blue side, Locky and Nautilus, we thought we were fine. And once the Maokai got locked in, I was actually like, oh, I'm doomed. This lane's over before the game even started, because Maokai is one of the top laners that does a lot of % health damage and heals a lot. Like you brought it up, like I was going to be spamming abilities. He was going to get his passive up constantly.
Yeah, and
it's bad. It's a rough lane. Like obviously, I don't want people picking Maokai into my Nautilus, but like Dippy showed that he knows what he's doing. Like he may not have had the most kills on the team, but he carried that game. Like he bodied me in game 2. Like he got payback for game 1.
Yeah, that was Dippy put the backpack on, and he carried the rest of the team to like that mid-late game status. I mean, doing 31% of his team's damage as a tank Maokai is like insane. But it just, I seen it in lane, and I said it in there. I'm like, you're gonna spam Riptide for the raid clear, and he's just gonna heal off of all of that. I'm like, this is might not have been the greatest.
Was pretty much the same thing too for the first two. Same for first two items and boots. So it was like he was just ahead of me for like from like minute 5 to the end. Like I was just trying to catch up, and I just couldn't.
Yeah, I also think that's the downfall of like Ezreal ADC. It's just like, how do you punch through tanks that get ahead? I think Dippy at one time was in bot lane, just like pushing back 4 of you guys. I'm like, well, they're not. This is over.
Yeah, he actually 1v3'd us and killed and for a while, and then I think Victor's the one that showed up, and we all died and didn't get either of them.
Yeah.
Or no, reverse that. We were fighting Victor. Victor survived at like 10 HP, and he showed up, and we lost the fight from there.
I'm trying to find this 1v3 you're talking about. See if I can find it.
Oh,
but I don't know when it happened.
I don't remember when it happened either. I don't want to remember it either because
that was a scary tree.
Yeah. I have a question for the other top laner here, Vacant. So for you then, you weren't playing this matchup or anything, but what is your have you experienced Nautilus top? Is that something you've got to play against before?
Nautilus top I played against it a few times. It can be very oppressive. But it is. I can see how Maokai would totally ruin your day at the same time. Maokai is. He's one of the, other than like Ornn, he'd probably be one of the best champions to play into another tank. Right?
Yeah, I can see that.
You're just never gonna do Nautilus is just so tanky, and he does a little bit of damage, not a lot. But it's just the fact that it's so hard to kill him, and he can hit you with Riptide over and over in lane, but Maokai doesn't care about that at all. Mm-hmm. So he's just gonna out sustain and out damage you. Yeah, I can see how that could go poorly. I've never played into that lane myself. I've never played Nautilus top or Maokai. Actually, I played Maokai top once, but it wasn't into a Nautilus. So I'm not too informed on how that would go.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go ahead and show this pentakill for everybody, but I guess I can ask this question here for War real quick. What was your guys' reaction to getting the pentakill on the flip side?
When we got penta, I don't even know that we all realized it. I realized it as soon as it happened. I'm like, oh, we got a quadra. Don't let him have it. And then they got the penta. I'm like, dang it, payback. But it took him. I think it took a moment for someone to go, "Oh, Kate got a penta," because I think she was like 1-1 or 0-1 before it happened, and then got the penta, and she was suddenly 10 miles ahead of everyone on her team off of one play, and it was like, "Oh crap!" Because we were already so far behind before that even happened. We had 3 kills the entire game. It was a bad game for us, and that happening just kind of ended the game, even though the game didn't end right there, I don't think. But it basically ended the game. It was the final nail in the coffin for us, and I knew it as soon as it happened. I'm like, oh, we're done.
Right.
Time to think about game 3.
Yep, yeah. Which is a good transition, actually. Why don't we talk about the last game of the series here? I will pull up the... So Battlefy unfortunately doesn't have the stats, so I'll have to show it over here for you guys. But looking at this game 3, you guys obviously got Talia for a 3rd straight game, and then we saw a Shyvana in the jungle for you guys. On the flip side, we saw the Vlad, which was very much a very good champion that Salt plays. Salt plays a very, very good Vlad, but excuse me, Ghost did a really, really good job of just dealing with that pick, as well as just the team in general. But he had a massive lead there in mid lane. So that's kind of how Game 3 went in terms of you guys kind of just taking over. But CLT, you got anything in specific for the game?
I felt like it was fairly even up until that mid lane turret dive, um, where I think they gave Ghost first blood and solo experience. So he definitely snowballed that, and then once he solo killed Vlad under turret, it was like, well, mid lane's kind of doomed and over with. I mean, Salt still had amazing engages and amazing like combos, where you just like you're looking at it and you're like, oh, if this was a fed Vladimir, or at least something that's even, then he makes a really big impact on the game. So it definitely showed like proficiency at the champion, but the moment Vlad's not able to like get to the mid game on his terms, it's really hard to play the champion. Um, I felt like Ghost did really, really well punishing it. I'd be kind of curious on why they let Ghost have Talia game 3. I would be a little curious on that conversation, but I think Salt felt comfortable playing into it, and Ghost informed us I think later that he has no issues playing into Vlad as Talia. So this was our first Janna, I believe, of the split. Looking back at the draft,
Definitely wasn't the first Janna. I remember playing
Nope.
into Janna before.
Yeah, that was actually us too.
Yeah. So
Oh,
there's
okay.
yeah.
Our support plays a lot of Janna.
But
I found that interesting that his name's Thresh all day and he's playing enchanters. I'm
It's
like,
hilarious because him, Flame Dog, and myself are all high mastery Thresh players.
That's so funny.
But so he used to be like a Threshman. He still has high mastery on it, but he got to the point where he's kind of like just playing what's good or strong, and it actually got him to masters last split. So he just kind of plays what is broken or really strong. So it ends up being a lot of like the enchanters or damage supports, like the mage supports. So he plays a lot of not Thresh now.
yeah.
Like he's still capable of playing all that. He just generally doesn't.
I do got a question. If I can bring Vacant Tech in here, what is like your thoughts and opinions on K'Sante? I know, like he's not as tanky as like the super tanks, but I don't feel like he does like Juggernaut's amount of damage right now. So
He's one of those champions. He's one of those champions where if the person I'm playing against doesn't know how to play them, I don't. He's not scary at all. But as soon as you go against someone that knows how to play him, he can be a terrifying thing to go against. He doesn't do like anything particularly well, but he can just do so many things that he can be a big threat. Because he can be his W gives him, what is it, like 40% damage reduction now when he uses it, I think.
I believe so,
Something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, and he gets damage for building resistances, which doesn't help. So he does end up doing decent amount of damage, being decently tanky, and he just has so much displacement that it can be very hard to deal with him, especially with his 2 dashes. And he can turn himself into an assassin.
Yeah.
That's also unkillable. I just feel like it's kind of like going against a Yasuo or Yone.
He's like the Riven of tanks.
Yeah, basically. He's pretty low rated right now, I'm pretty sure. Like he isn't that great of a champion, but as soon as you put him into the hands of someone that does know how to play them, he can be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I know Dippy's an insanely like talented top laner, but I know War pushed him back, made him burn a couple flashes and stuff like that in this game. So it was I was kind of worried of the K'Sante Ornn matchup. I don't know specifically how it goes, but I know Dippy is just like such a mechanically good player. I'm like, okay, if he's on K'Sante, we gotta kind of keep an eye on this. But War held his own in lane, which I think was the stability that the rest of his team needed. Once the solo laners got ahead, then Shyvana can just open up the map and poke for free.
Yeah.
Not to take away from like War's like contribution to the game at all, but Ornn is a decent into K'Sante just because K'Sante really relies on that moving you where he wants you to be. If Ornn times W well, it kind of hurts K'Sante a lot.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple of that when the spectator like panned up tops.
I think he did ult me once as I W'd, and he ended up over the wall, and I just kind of like, oh, he's not here.
Yeah.
See you later,
Oh,
fam.
yeah.
But he did solo kill Ghost, and it started off as a 2v1, and he ulted Ghost and nuked him.
Are
So,
you talking about the one where he ulted a mid Weaver's Wall?
yeah.
I gotta find that before we get off this game real quick. Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, I was not expecting him to do that. I'm like, oh right, he can do that. So I tried to waddle over. By the time I got there, Ghost was already dead.
That's a clip you clip CLT right there. Let me tell you, man. I don't remember what that was, but that was insane. I gotta find it, man.
If we don't find it here, I will make sure that hits the YouTube clips.
For real, that was a nuts one right there.
Pretty.
But I would say we'll go ahead and move on to the next one because I don't want to stay stuck on this too long. We've been on these series for a little bit, and I know we're at a lot to talk about. But all hats off to Sad Jellyfish too. I would like to say they played a good series too, even though they had a hard time, especially in game one. I think game three was still a little closer than game one was, and they gave their best effort. So, and I expect them to be back ready next week to be kicking ass and taking names.
They were definitely a strong team. Like we did, like I said, we kind of let off the gas for game two, and we got punished for it. And we deserved to get beaten game two. So they were a good team. Like I will not take anything from them. I think we just had I think we just had a better day than they did.
I would not complain if I see that series again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, going on to the next series, we had Boomer Squad versus Scorch, which was also casted. So I will pull those up for everybody. But yeah, CLTs, what's your breakdown of Boomer Squad versus Scorch?
Game one, Nocturne top. Like, I seen this in the draft, and I'm like, alright, this thing's either going to get blown up instantly or be the tankiest thing ever. I was kind of curious to see how it worked into Aatrox, and then I was like, okay, it can stand toe to toe with Aatrox if they spell shield the right Q. But once that Nocturne got off the ground, it was like Nocturne ult into Ziggs ult. Bori had some really, really good ults, and I know Archer on the Amumu loves Ziggs. Like, you just ult the whole team, and then Ziggs drops a big bomb that gets enhanced by Amumu. So that started to really run like team fights, and then once Boomer Squad got ahead in team fights, Ziggs and Nasus just melt turrets. I think you blink twice and there's three turrets gone. But Boonstra had a rough time trying to just get away from this Nocturne. Even when Nocturne didn't have Serpent's Fang and he was full Stride Breaker in the tank, I'm like, he's still killing Boonstra every time, even with Nami around it. So.
And was that a Nasus mid, by the way?
That was a Nasus mid. I don't want to get started on that rant.
Well, he had himself a good game. 2-1-8. So.
Yeah, he stacked really well. I don't think. I think it's a great pick in the Hui. Once he gets a few levels, Hui can't really move him. And this Nasus tech where you're just queuing the cannons and getting the mid game, it's annoying. I don't.
It's annoying.
Bro, I hate it.
I do see that he built Frozen Heart second, which is, I feel, is interesting when he's laning into Hui and has to deal with Nami and Sedge.
I thought that was interesting too, but it just felt like they didn't punish it enough.
Yeah.
I thought in the mid game actually, Scorch had a really good comp to lock down and deal with Nasus. I mean, even with Grievous Wounds on Varus Kit, you just lay the Grievous Wounds down off the E and Nasus just melts. It just felt like Boomer Squad got ahead and their comp was allowed to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I feel like Scorch's team definitely could have done a lot into theirs if they went even into the later game. When I'm looking at it now, they have so much CC on Scorch's team. Nasus should never even be able to get close to any of their carries, I feel like. But with the Nocturne doing so well, can't really keep him off your back line,
I don't really think I don't remember it that well, but I don't think the Nocturne really got off the ground too much. I know
Oh, it looks like he
One-
did decent here.
Yeah, he picked up a lot of kills and team fights once he was tanky enough to just like suicide dive the Varus. But a lot of the combos through the mid game was just Amumu Ziggs. Anytime I see like Amumu or Lilia, if they drop ults, it's just Ziggs bomb the big ult, just one shot's a backliner.
Ziggs ADC is pretty disgusting right now.
Yeah.
Has been for a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit impressive. And you know what? Speaking of ADCs, Bori's having himself an MVP type split so far. I mean, we saw what he did in the first couple of weeks. We see the stats. He is just a stat machine. He is absolutely carrying his team, and I mean that in the nicest way. Everybody in his team is playing well, but like in terms of he is doing above and beyond type stuff right now in that role. I mean, I think I saw 45%. Was it? Yeah, 45%. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and this has been him on a consistent basis. He is constantly in the top echelon of percentage of damage, and he's always number one for his team. So that's huge. Whereas on the flip side of things, you look at Scorch, they were actually pretty well balanced across the board as far as team damage, but even as a full collective team in this game, they were not able to, beat out Bori, and Bori was able to, with his team, backing him up, take over the game. Tem had a good game too. He actually did not die in this game. I know you're talking about how it was hard for him to deal with them a bit, but he seemed okay. Boonstra, as you said, did struggle. I'm seeing that based on the stats, but it's very interesting that one player can be sometimes so dominant. But yeah, if he keeps going on this way, he could certainly be the MVP this split. So
yeah, I think his team does a lot of good things around him to like put him in positions to do his job as an AD carry and a damage dealer.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and jump into to game 2 here. What happened here in game 2? I'm seeing similar picks here. I'm seeing the Nasus mid again. What is going on? Why is
when they didn't ban Nasus, and then I think Boomer Squad first rotated Nasus. I'm like, okay, what's your answer to this? You can either pick something to go even and scale with him, and like Asol, or Swain, or like, are you going to really, really attack this? And when I seen the Hui again, I'm like, we've already seen this episode before. Like it's not effective. The Trundle top was interesting. I kind of circle back around to that.
Yeah, and as far as this game, Tem had a much harder time on the Hui this time around. So they obviously were able to punish it a little more, and that kind of helps when you have a Maokai. His CC is very immense. I would even argue to a degree better than Mumu, which they played in the first game, right? Oh no, was it a Mumu? I already forgot. My brain.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And the reason why I say that, it's for early game, right? Pre-6. Bandage toss isn't guaranteed, and lock on ability is guaranteed. So being able to walk up and press W pretty much means your death if you don't have flash. And so I can imagine that it was a little harder to deal with, especially with Nasus slow. This Nasus champion, I've been seeing it top lane. Do you guys as well? So we'll take it out of the mid lane for a second because we have another top lane and another role here. Are you guys interested in playing this champion at any time in the top lane? Like, is he strong up there, or does he still not have a place? Because he seems pretty strong from what I've seen.
The only thing that sucks about playing is you're giving up the first like 8 minutes of the game when you play it top. It's definitely not bad. Weirdly enough, even though he's an infinite scaler, it's kind of odd because he's more of a mid game champ than a late. Just because when you get to that late portion of the game, people can deal with you a lot easier, like blow you up more. So what you want to get ahead, so mid game you can go start really getting a lead, taking like side towers and stuff. My team was thinking about having me play it our last series potentially, but we ended up not doing that. It is just really oppressive. It's hard to gank just because he makes one person, if they don't have like dashes to get onto him, like useless. It's become just a 1v1 again, where he can just walk away with that wither.
Yeah, thank you for saying what I've been saying a long time about Nessus. He truly is a mid-game champion. Like, yeah, if you get to like 60 minutes in a game, I mean, that's a little different, but games aren't lasting that long. So when you hit late game at 30 plus minutes, like, sure, Nessus is useful, but like you said, he's going to be kited now. He's like, whatever. If he shows up in a team fight, you probably just kill him. He's not much of an issue. If he does have free access to back line, that's a problem. But then that would bring in question, what did you draft? Like, as the opposing team, because Nash should not just walk into your backline and kill them. That should just never happen.
Like, even looking at this game, the second game, Nash should never be able to get on the backline with Cassante, Sage, Hui, like, all of them, really. Ashe can slow, Brand can stun, too. They all either have stuns or slows of some sort. And Nasus just, it's really hard for him to deal with them, especially since he did build Merc Treads, which helps a bit, but then when Ashe slows, he doesn't have Swifties either then. So, and it looks like he took Flash instead of Ghost, too. So, he doesn't have a way to consistently get on. Even with Flash, it can be hard, because you'll just get knocked away by one of the tanks, or feared by Hui.
Yeah, I feel like in top lane, he's like, while he is hard to gank sometimes in the right windows, he's like easily exploitable. Like, there's not, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not very many windows where you're like, okay, if I was a top laner, okay, this looks like a good Nasus game.
No, it's not often, because you need to have a champion you're going to be going into that can't punish you for picking it early. Yeah. You need something that's like not like really good early game, and most champs are able to exploit him early, especially with how much mobility is in the game.
Except for mages.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even though he's melee, with Nasus, his passive, he can sustain very well, especially into the mid game, like early mid.
Yeah.
Into it.
Yeah, like level 6, level 8, it's like 18% lifesteal without buying a single stat. It's like, what mage is pushing that back? There's very few. You either have to handshake it or, attack it with a jungler.
I definitely think it's interesting that you said they first rotated Nasus and they counterpicked Hui again?
I believe so. It was either first pick Hui and then they answered with Nasus, or it's first pick Nasus and
if they answered Hui, that's a bit interesting, I feel like, because Hui is good into the later game, but he's not like a hard carry champion, you know?
I mean, I think he has a lot of...
He has carry potential, but he has a lot more supportive stuff to him with his movement speed and shields and stuff. Yeah, he does a lot of damage, but he's not like Vlad or Katarina or something like that.
For clarification, in the draft, Hui was B1 in the draft, and Nasus was B1, and Nasus was R3. At this point, they had, on the side of Scorch, they had drafted the Ashe and the Sejuani, so top lane was still being held. So I would assume at that point they would probably know, based on game 1, that this Nasus was going mid again. Still flex, but yeah.
That's insanely cocky. If you're showing Hui, Ashe, Sejuani, and you're like, hey, I'm going to slam Nasus here, it's like, okay, that's a lot of kiting. I mean, we know in a vacuum that he pushes back Hui, or at least goes even with it, but
yeah,
that's all Nasus really wants.
Yeah. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? That's what they always say.
I mean, they threw a lot of bans at Bori in the bot lane.
Yeah. So. Well, let's we'll finish up. What's your thought there, Vacant?
Oh, I was just saying, looking at Scorch's team, I don't know who they're like. They don't have much to deal. Like, they can deal with Nasus, but they don't have like a lot of burst damage, I feel like. Because Hui mainly wants to be throwing down the like the lava fissure, whatever it's called on the ground, is what he mainly does. Oh, I don't know. But yeah. It's just, I feel like damage would be an issue for them, but with an Ashe nerfs and stuff as well. She isn't as good as she once was.
Yeah, I thought the brand support was a really good answer into like quad melees.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I knew Victor on Trundle. I mean, he just wants to split push as well.
Trundle's definitely a good pick into Cassante as well.
Okay, yeah, I was kind of curious on that as well.
Yeah. Well, Cassante uses defensive stats more than for just defense as well. You're lowering his damage as well as his defense when you ult him.
Never thought of it that way. That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, there's the answer to those questions that you totally had. Going into the next series, then we got your series here, Vacant Tech, and that's you guys versus Team L. So to clarify, load the Kennens versus Team L. Why don't you go ahead and you can walk the class through game one.
Can we skip that one?
Nah, it's unskippable around here, my man.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, our game one, we were just trying to, feel it out. We have a bad habit of not doing much prep before games. Our prep is like join 15 minutes before the game starts and see what's going on. So we were just trying to feel it out a bit, but the game didn't go too well. I remember I definitely into top lane, into a counter matchup as well, even better. And then they picked Smolder mid, which ended up pretty hard carrying through the game, because he got, I think it was a double kill. It might have been a triple, but I think it was a double kill just a few minutes in. I believe our Amu, because we had Amumu jungle with our Yone mid for a counter. He wanted to play that into him. I believe we got counter pick there. And I don't know exactly what happened. I didn't watch through that game yet, but I think the Udyr came in for the counter gank, and Smolder got away with 1 HP from the gank, then flashed back in to get the double on the two of them, which was pretty unfortunate. And the game kind of went very out of control from there, because I tried to run down Scion and I think I remember taking a stray tower shot and dying as well, giving Scion a solo kill, which was unfortunate. And then I got ganked by Udyr and died, and my gameplay became sitting under tower while Scion was constantly just low charging Qs on me, and instead of just trying to scale like I should have on Gwen. And bot lane was going okay. Esco and Strawberry Milk were doing pretty good bot, but it just wasn't enough to bring it back from what was happening mid and top.
Yeah. So you were correct about like the gank mid. It was Mumu going in, and they found him on the play there. But what ended up happening was Ruriko went under the turret with his third Q. He dashed under it, and he ended up taking a turret shot, and that's what brought him so low. And it looked like he might have got baited by the barrier of the Smolder, is what I'm gonna assume happened, because he probably thought he could kill him, and then realized, oh crap, barrier, I gotta run. And then Smolder ended up flashing in to get like the last auto on him due to basically the turret shot. But I do agree that was definitely already a turning point at that point. But then he got like another kill or two, and then it just became the champion just became so oppressive, because he is a very, very strong mid game champion. People think that Smolder is late game, but I've talked to a couple friends about it, and they've continuously told me that even though yes he scales well, his strongest point is when he first gets his stacks, and that's in the mid game. So,
Yep.
Yeah, he's a pretty disgusting champion when ahead like that.
Once you get that once you get that execute is when he really wants to start fighting, because you're not gaining much off of stacks on him after getting the execute. You do get that more true damage and a little bit more of that magic damage on his abilities, but you're not gaining like the execute like that, or the true damage in general. So he's kind of like a Nasus in that way. Sure, if he gets enough stacks, he's a late game, just because he'll one-shot you, but his strongest point most of the time is mid.
Yeah, his window to like get to 125 where he has the splash damage is probably the weakest point. But then that mid game, if you fight often, he's just going to hit like 2 or 3 champions with a single Q, so then it accelerates the stacking quite a bit. It's almost like fighting against Syndra or Acel.
Yeah, team fighting against Smolder from that 125 to 225 is rough just because he's going to be throwing out those W. He has so much AoE at that point with Q and W and all. He's going to be getting just dozens of stacks each fight. So you're kind of incentivized not to team fight against him much. But yeah, no, that first game was a bit rough. I overestimated my ability to play on Gwen, and then the unfortunate failed gank mid into the double kill. I'm definitely more of a tank champion. I'm not mechanically inclined like some of our other top laners in the league.
Top lane in the league. I think across the board's pretty talented, pretty strong.
Yeah, which will lead me into game 2. But also, I want to talk about your opponent here, which was No Frame. I think he's been having himself a good split so far. What was it like playing against him?
He definitely knew what he was doing. He didn't make a lot of the, just common blunders top lane that you'd normally make. And he played definitely hard to play champions. Like all 3 games, I think. No, not last game. He played Volibear last game, but he played, or Sion first game actually. He did play Irelia second game, and he was very good on that one as well.
Yeah, what was your decision? I think you went, didn't you go Q-Max that game? On the Malphite? Yeah.
Yeah. I think you start Q-Max on Malphite, and then I went into E just because I wanted to be able to poke him down some, since Malphite is definitely good into Irelia, but not great early, especially if she can get her stacks going. She just does so much damage, and then I assumed he was going to first build Bork, but he ended up building Wit's End, which definitely was a bit more rough. But either way.
So
yeah.
I was looking to not fight him much, I guess, just to go neutral, because I knew I'd be able to do a lot mid to late game, even if I wasn't ahead as Malphite. With just my ult and stuff.
Yeah, I felt the Wits In adaptation on him, looking at triple magic damage topside, was actually really
definitely good. Yeah. He went like a lot of magic resist, if I remember.
Yeah, it was Merc Treads into Megatron Cloak and the Wits.
Yeah, and he also ended up getting Terminus as well. For even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if I remember, we went pretty even. I don't remember that game too well, honestly. We went pretty even in lane. There wasn't much happening top at all, just because I was trying not to fight him much. Honestly,
well, you might not remember, but you did kill him solo kill at level 3, so...
I did? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you died right afterwards to minions, but, like, you know...
I remember that. That was really good for me, though, because the wave was pushing into me pretty hard at that point.
Yeah, me and CLT, I remember questioning the Q-Max specifically, because my understanding of Malphite, and this is what I've always been explained, if you go top lane, and maybe more Initiate could back me up on this one, was that you're supposed to go E-Max into basically any melee matchup, and then Q-Max into range matchups, generally speaking. Now, I know there could be different iterations, but that was my understanding. So, it worked for you, clearly, because you got the kill, so I'm not going to really judge it, but... that
was my thought process. Yeah. I just wanted to not interact, and Q-Maxing was my best way to not interact.
Yeah. So, Initiate, can you back up my claim, or is his better? Which was correct?
So, as someone who doesn't play a lot of Malphite, because I don't play tanks in solo. I'm going to be 100% honest. Unless I'm playing support or I'm playing Nautilus. I don't play tanks in solo queue, because in solo queue, your team doesn't... Solo queue players don't know how to play around tanks. So, I don't play a lot of Malphite, because the team always wants me on Ornn, which I hate playing. But... So, I really don't know a lot about the Malphite, so I would... with the little knowledge I have, I always max Q, because it's your big ability that does the most damage. It's the one that gives you the speed boost. It lets you get away. It lets you catch people. But I can understand where the Emax would make sense, because it lowers the attack speed and all that. So I can see both sides of it as someone who doesn't play a lot of Malphite. But I personally, my favorite ability is actually the W, because I like to auto attack people, and maxing W scares people.
Yeah,
but I'm a maniac, so.
Well,
Well,
I
if you're going into a high, like physical damage team, W max isn't that bad either, because that is the ability that gives you more of the passive armor, I believe.
yes. There was a time into Aurelia, Riven's, Fiora's where it was lethal tempo, W max Malphite with like Trinity Force
Yeah.
straight in the
I
tank.
remember that as someone who plays Aatrox. I remember
Oh,
that, and oh my gosh, it was so painful. It's like,
yeah.
oh, it's just a Malphite. I counter Malphite. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Not anymore.
Not that version.
Not that version. No.
Because he
I
just
love playing,
Qs you, runs at you, gets lethal tempo, and then presses W, and you're like, what just happened to my health bar?
Yeah.
And if you try to get away, he just ults you, and then you're dead anyway.
Yep.
It was very oppressive
Yeah.
when that
Yeah.
was around.
Yeah, that was a great game though. I remember the highlight specifically being the biggest thing was Strawberry Milk just absolutely going insane on this rel pick. By the way,
Yeah, that dude,
always.
this game, if you were on his screen, he was fighting you. He did not care.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was, yeah, that was impressive.
There was like sometimes I think there was one where he was like mid, and it was him and Esco or ADC, just the two of them with like we saw four or all five of them mid, and we're telling him to careful down, back out, and he just told us no, and then proceeded to do whatever he wanted anyway.
That does not surprise me watching his play, because that game 2 was straight just the rel. I've never seen like a tank support carry that much. He did
He did a lot. He's very good tank. He's a tank main, but he does really love his Renata and stuff too.
yeah, this is so funny. It just sounds so like grief. It's like no, like I don't care about our teamwork, guys. It's my show today. Like, jeez Louise. Well, I'm glad it worked out.
He had so much move speed at that point. He knew that even if like they saw him, he could get away, because he was running souls, like symbiote souls with the sled and Deadman's.
Oh yeah.
And then E as
He was
well.
full
so.
build by the end of the game too, which is great.
Yeah.
for support.
Yeah. I think we said that in the cast. It was like a 25 or 30 minutes. It's like this supports full build. What?
And he had Thornmail and Deadman's, and those.
Yeah, those are
he had,
expensive
like,
items.
Support items, yeah.
Yeah.
He had 26 assists. It looks like he almost actually had as much. He had barely almost as much more. Sorry, geez, almost as much as our jungler in gold.
That's crazy. Well, let's finish up here. Let's get to game 3, and I will see CLT. What do you have for vacant on this game? Anything in particular?
Outside of just like Mundo goes where he pleases. I mean, this is the second or third time this split, I think, in a game I've casted or watched where like top laner picks Mundo, and I swear this champion needs resources to get off the ground, and he doesn't. It's just once he gets one item, it's like what do you do to stop this?
Yeah, it can be like that with Mundo. I personally always build Warmogs first, even after the nerfs. I build Warmogs first on Mundo, just because all my game plan is not to do anything at all until like 10, 11 minutes when I get Warmogs, and then TP back to lane and just hit their tower and get all the plates, and there's nothing they can do about it, basically.
Yeah, and I low-key thought it was going to be like Gwen into Mundo, because I thought that was a much better matchup, but then when they flexed the Volibear, I was like, I don't know. Volibear can't really move Mundo that well, I don't think.
Yeah, that Volibear is very, very bad into Mundo, just because he can physically never stun me with his Q, with my passive. And then that makes it so he can't hit his E either, or get more than one proc on his W. And his whole thing is, wanting to do those extended trades after hitting a big E. And he just can never do any of that to me. And then once I get Warmogs, I just out-sustain him whenever, wherever.
Well, it's also like the thought of Gwen. The only things moving Mundo in their comp is Gwen, and Gwen's not going to get enough resources out of the jungle. So
No.
You put her top. I mean, you both want to scale, but the moment Mundo leaves lane, like okay, Gwen's taking turrets.
Yeah, I don't know if their top laner isn't comfortable on it, or if their jungler isn't comfortable on Volibear, but Gwen was definitely the proper play. Just because there isn't a lot that Mundo can do into Gwen. I know I picked into it, but I just felt I just wanted to play Mundo.
I just wanted to play Mundo.
Sounds like a top laner.
Yeah.
War, I do got a question for War just about like this Mundo. What's your thoughts on just overall as Mundo compared to like some of the other super tank options out there?
So every time that I have a Mundo picked against me in the game, I proceed to ban it for the next like 3 days because it doesn't matter how well I do, it just doesn't. Because I could be slamming them, and then one thing happens, and then he just is running me down no matter how fed I am, and it's like if he gets off the ground, he's impossible to deal with. A lot of people feel that way. Like for a while, like a few seasons ago, that's what I did with Nasus. I was banning Nasus when he was at his peak, like last year or something, or the year before. I was banning Nasus. Now it's the same kind of thing with Mundo. Like I hate playing against Darius. I hate playing against Yorick. But I would rather play against them than Mundo most of the time because a lot of solo queue players again don't know how to play around tanks, and Mundo he doesn't play like a tank once he gets rolling. He just melts towers like a Fiora. So if you know how to play Mundo and you can get ahead, he is so hard to deal with. I've played him a couple times. It's strong, and I don't play him that much.
Yeah, I think Vacant, you only died one time on that champ, I think, that game, if I remember.
Yeah, and that was because I greeted for his tower.
Yeah, you really wanted to
for him to do it.
Just a casual 25k damage Mundo carrying his team. It's nothing unusual here.
I mean, when you get full build on Mundo, you get around like 600 plus AD with Blood Mail.
God.
So I usually build, in the end, I get Blood Mail like 7th item, replace like my boots or Warmogs. And then I have Titanic Hydra at that point, so all you do is auto E and then Titanic Hydra, and that will legit one-shot most ADCs at most point in the game with Heartsteel.
Nice. Well, let's move on from one-shotting, and let's talk about another series, which was the last series played for the week due to the fact that Team 2 versus Zoomers was a forfeit match. If you didn't know, that's what happened in that series. Zoomers had some complications, so they had a forfeit. So Team 2 got the victory. So we're going to go ahead and talk about MTE versus Big Back Laners. Good old BBL. So, CLT, do you have anything you'd like to point out for this series?
Yeah, this game one, Kaisa popped off. Low the man, 43% of his team's damage, got almost the 4 items, did a lot. Levi on the Yone didn't die, which is interesting, like playing an assassin or a go forward champion. It looked like Marshall tried to counterpick it with the Diana, Ignite Diana, but Yone's just, he can push a lot of melees around, especially like the AP melees. He pushes around like Diana, Echo, those types of champions because of the shield and the healing he can get, especially post Bork. But yeah, this game was over with pretty quickly, 18.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. I will say though, Marshall has been the one player in MTE I feel like of note where he's constantly having pretty good games even when the team isn't doing as well. He still had 23% of his team's damage. It was the second highest next to the Jinx and the Volibear. But yeah, I feel like he consistently has decent games, but they always seem to falter. And then this is the big thing we've talked about before. It's the CS, right? And the not ability to last hit is going to always result in lower income, which is going to result in you not being able to fight these team fights and not be able to get the objectives. So that's the biggest thing for me. As far as on the other side, looking at big back laners, this is their first series win, so happy to see that for them. Levi, I think we've seen him play that Yone before, as well as Lissandra, which is another big champion. So I'm not surprised to see him pick that here. But Low the Man having a really, really good series in terms of damage, I'm also not surprised by, because I believe he was also another one of those 80 carries we've seen have very consistently high damage percentage type games. So I'm not surprised by that as well. But a very, very, very good performance. 16-1-4 is absolutely insane, and 9.77 CS a minute. I mean, it's basically almost as perfect as you can get in any game played. So really good performance by him. Gnar, though, is something we haven't seen. I don't think much at all. This might be the first Gnar. I'd like to know, actually, on that one. But I don't remember seeing it up to this point. So what's your guys' opinion on Gnar, since we don't see it anymore? It feels like he's kind of like, faded out of the existence of League of Legends, it feels.
Yeah, I feel like I'd almost never see Gnar now. It's just, he's definitely not bad, but I feel like that if he can just can't do what he wants to better than other champions can, because if you want to have a range poke champion like his small form, you might as well just go pick something else that can do that better. But if you want a tank like CC or damage bot, there's a lot of other options that will be a lot better.
Yeah, just play Nautilus, right? Just Nautilus, right? We're in this shit.
Yeah. You want to play Nautilus? No, don't do that. Don't start getting people to ban my Nautilus.
Yeah, and if you want poke damage, guys, just play Mundo. Vacant tech set it here,
Yeah, exactly.
See?
Just play Mundo. I can poke and one shot. It's the best of both.
It's crazy.
But as far as the Gnar goes, I don't see it either. Like I haven't. I tried playing it. I want to say a couple months ago on my Smurf account, and he just doesn't do anything. I picked into a matchup that he's supposed to counter, and it just didn't feel like he does anything. I know that they're picking it in pro, but every time I see it in pro, I don't see it do much of anything either. So I don't know what he's supposed to do.
He's very safe at the very least. But I'm like, I did just pull up his u.gg, and it looks like, at least according to this, in Emerald Plus, he has a 47.9% win rate right now.
It's pretty low. Pretty low. Yeah, well, all things said to Gnars of the world, this Gnar had a good performance. He went 6-1-2 and did 27% of his team's damage percentage, which was the second highest on his team. So, I mean, I'm not sure, like you said, you guys say the Gnar isn't as good right now, and that might be true, but this guy, he showed that the pick is still relevant and still useful. So, I would say...
Yeah.
Go ahead and pick it, guys, if you want. But you've heard it here first from two top laners. Just play Nautilus or Mundo, and you're better off. So I mean, that's what they said. So moving on to game 2 here, CLT. We have another Orianna, I see, and the big one that's really glaring to me is Shaco jungle.
Yeah. I knew you'd point that one out, being the jungler here, but I mean, just the one thing outside of like the champions pick, the one thing that stood out was actually MTE Marshall on this Syndra. This is now, I think, the third time he's played it, and he's done super well on it. He's not afraid to pick it into like skill matchups or anything like that. I know Syndra Orianna is a little more even now than it used to be in years past. But picking an immobile mage into something like Malphite, Orianna, Yasuo, and then like you can never walk forward because of Shaco is actually pretty gutsy. And he 31% of his team's damage is pretty good. He's solid KDA, solid CS a minute. Marshall's definitely the one that stands out, especially when you see him on Syndra.
Yeah,
but yeah, this Shaco.
Yeah, Shaco. I mean, it's a classic pick actually when you pair it with Orianna, right? And then the other side of things, you also got the Malphite with the Orianna. And all that being said, then you got the Yasuo. So I'm sure we had a couple wombo combos in that game, and I really wish we could have got to cast it and be able to share some clips from it. Unfortunately, we were not able to get any, and we do apologize to both the teams for that. But we will definitely continue to try to cast all the games, so that way we're able to give you guys the best experience across the board. as far as the league goes. But yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing from this week, and as far as the takeaway, especially on this series. I don't have too much otherwise. How about you? Vacant Tech or Ward? Do you have any opinions on these comps that they were drafted?
What's the thought on this AP Malphite? By the way, I just noticed this.
Jeez,
Yeah, AP. Yeah.
AP Malphite top.
He probably did that because he's playing into Tryndamere, and Malphite is just such an incredibly good pick into him.
Yeah.
So he can kind of do whatever he wants at that point. And it looks like they're, just looking to go for a wombo combo. So if Malphite gets an ult on 2, or if he gets an ult on 3 of them in a team fight, then Yasuo ults, they just die. It's over at that point with that build on Malphite. Right?
He might just one-shot himself, and he might have that game.
Yeah, he could have at that point, honestly. But yeah, no, I mean, Minimum Talent Esports, that was my game too. And we went against them, and they played team fights well. If I remember back, it's just their CSing. It seems to be the main issue.
Yeah, and that's something they can certainly clean up over time as players. But they have noted to me many times that they are aware they are one of the lower elo teams in the league, but they have a lot of heart and they're trying their best. And I really hope they're able to get some wins here down the line, because I think it's just healthy for the league to have everybody having a little bit of success regardless. Plus, it's always fun to have more competition. So the more competitive these groups are, the better it is for everybody. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all the series. Before we wrap everything up and get you guys out of here, I'm gonna take a little peek at the standings. Luckily this week, guys, we didn't have a game played on Tuesday, so we're able to actually see what the standings are looking like right now. Right. As far as these go, and just for everyone to know, you guys as well, if you don't know, we do have a total of 8 teams that make the playoffs. The playoffs are single elimination, so it won't be double elim. I know some people like double elim, but we just don't want the league lasting too long. We already have 7 total weeks, right, of just the regular season. And it's going to be, so that means 4 teams from each group will make it. So currently the standings are shaking out as far as Group A goes. As you guys can see, we have Small Brain, No Mechanics currently on top. They're technically 2-0. Everyone gets 1 extra victory due to the bye week. It's weird. Battlefy tracking is strange. And then you see second place is Sad Jellyfish and Insane Banana Posse. Technically, I think Insane Banana Posse should be above them since they beat them. So they should be over them, and they're both sitting at 2-1. And then Boomer Squad right below, also at 2-1. I don't think they've played either of those teams. So actually, they might have played Sad Jellyfish and lost, I think, actually. And then everybody else is either 1-1 or winless at the moment. So that's kind of how your Group A is shaking out. Your Group B, you've got Load the Kennens on top right now. They are 3-0, haven't lost a series, and that was without their captain last week, might I add, which I meant to ask you about that, Vacant Tech, what it was like playing with Soup, but we'll just have to save that for another day, so we're not here too long. And then Team 2 sitting at 2-1 along with Zoomers, who are at 1-1. Actually, I'm sorry, no. They're 2-1, and then Zoomers, Washed Up Gamers, and Team L are all sitting at 1-1. And then Big Back Laners are 1-2, while Minimum Talent Esports are sitting at 0-3. Technically speaking, again, I know you're probably conflicted with what I'm saying, because what the heck, Jake? It says 4-0, it says 3-1. Yes, but I'm not counting the bye week as a win. Okay, that's just not how my head works. So how do you guys feel being on top, real quick, Vacant? How do you guys feel being number 1 in the group so far? Feel pretty good, or?
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun with our games. We've been trying not to take it that seriously, so I didn't know that we were at the top, but it's good knowing that.
Yeah. Is there any team so far in that group you're looking either forward to playing, or a team you're kind of looking out for to try to keep that top spot and ensure playoffs?
Honestly, not necessarily. Not because I don't feel any other teams are not gonna, that all of them are gonna be easy, but just because I don't know the other teams, I haven't looked into them at all. So I don't know what's coming, I guess.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. Vacant's not ready. He's ready to take an L. So whoever he's playing next week, they're ready to lose. Okay. On the other side of things, War Initiate, do you have any feelings about where you guys sit, and is there any teams you're looking forward to playing in Group A?
So I don't know if we have anyone we're worried about. Like we've already played you guys. We played Sad Jellyfish, which we haven't played Boomer Squad yet. As the other team with currently a winning record. But the one team I'm looking out for is actually a rematch in playoffs against you. So, because we want to take you on full strength against full strength.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
again, I don't want to take anything away from you guys. Played immaculately week one. It was just unfortunate that our mid laner was moving across the country.
Yeah, no, it's
I
understandable.
want a rematch.
Yeah, well, we're all here for it, man. Hopefully, we get to see each other in the playoffs then. Then I will do this one last thing before I wrap it up, and that is just show everybody Week 4's matchups and ask CLT, since I know you're going to be casting games with me at some point, is there a series you're looking forward to casting, my friend?
I mean, I'd like see how Team L does against washed up gamers. Like I think they've shown that they play well together as a team, and they have some, I won't say spicy picks, but they can definitely play like a wide variety of champions. So if they can continue that kind of upward trajectory against washed up gamers, and then for Group A, I mean, I want to see who gives small brains that first loss there.
Yeah.
I know, sorry, bro.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the first loss. The first loss, you always find out what kind of team you are. So, I'm always
yeah, I
looking
mean,
forward to
looking at it though now, I mean, Scorch versus Insane Banana is actually, I think, a pretty good matchup as well.
that. Yeah, I could see it being a good match. Scorch has been here a long time, and they've been playing together a long time. So I could see them giving them a run for their money for sure. We'll see how it goes though. I mean, that's War Initiate series, so hopefully he doesn't lose, because then I'm gonna meme him a bunch.
we got Spice. We're thinking about pulling out. So
All right, well,
we'll see.
really
Oh.
excited
See
how it
then.
goes.
We'll wait to see that. The only other thing is, I just want to see Zoomers play, man. So hopefully this week we get to do that, because I've heard a lot from we've heard a lot from Boomer Squad, specifically Bori, about this team. So I want to see this team play, and I want to know what we've got cooking in the oven over there in Group B, because it's the only team we have not seen. So that's pretty much it then, guys. I want to say thank you to both Vacant and War Initiate for coming on. It's been a really nice episode. A little longer than the last two, but sometimes it's going to run longer, and it gets a little exhausting talking all day, but here we are. I'm just kidding. I love doing this.
Yeah. Same.
So thank you guys for coming on. Do either of you have any last words? I will leave that open, whether you guys want to talk crap or just say some nice things, or just say bye or whatever. It's all good with me, but is there anything last you guys like to say?
Just thanks for having me.
Hey guys, one person at a time.
Sorry. Go for
Well,
it.
I said no, just thanks for having me.
No problem, friend.
And I hate playing Ornn, so
All right, tell your team.
sorry about that.
Yeah, tell your team to watch this, and tell
they
them
know.
they need to watch it for that reason. Yeah.
They know, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, CLT. Any wrapping up words for yourself?
No. Again, this is always fun. I'm glad to do this with you guys. Thanks, Vacant and War, for coming on. And now I know War doesn't like corn.
Yeah, now we know it. All right. Well, I will sign off then. Everybody have a great week of League of Legends. Good luck to all the teams playing. Good luck to War and Vacant. Hopefully they're able to continue winning. Good luck to myself, because I'm going to need it. I got to play against my friends, and they're going to clap my booty cheeks. So you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon. GG.
Good luck.
See you.
Later.